Molly my bean, 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 Molly my bean. I'm in that lean, Molly my bean, a rocket she lean, Molly my bean, Molly my bean, Molly my bean. I'm in the lane, on the drain, on the lane, on the drain, yeah, on the safe, yeah, in the coupe, yeah, I'll put your name on, yeah, what you gon' do, yeah, hate that mic, yeah, hate it in this side, smoke on side, smoke that motherfucker island, hop on the private, I ain't even pay with it private, for your bitch, she just all private, hate that mic, yeah, hate it in this side, smoke on side, smoke that motherfucker island, hop on the private, I ain't even pay with it private, for your bitch, she just all private, yeah. Molly my bean, 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 Molly my bean. I'm in that lean, Molly my bean, a rocket she lean, Molly my bean, Molly my bean, Molly my bean, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cantina MX Football Podcast, episode 406. It labeled it the Santi Jimenez Hater Club. We'll explain why in just a moment, but he is obviously top of mind as we are all anticipating his Champions League debut tomorrow. And we also have some Liga MX results that we'll be going over. Of course, we'll be talking about Chivas and some other clubs, America, Santos. But before we go any further, I just want to let everybody know we are broadcasting live on YouTube and on Twitter Spaces. So hop on, talk shit. We'll let you speak, or we'll read out your chats. But want to welcome my good friend Joel to the pod. Joel, how we doing?
I'm triggered, Jaime. Santi triggered me with his speech. I'm shaking.
Santi Jimenez had a whole video ready for his Champions League debut, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about his comments he had on TNT. So let me play that clip and then we'll dissect it here, courtesy of, again, TNT Sports Mexico.
En México es muy difícil que te dejen salir y creo que eso debería de cambiar. Si queremos ver a largo plazo, para mí, bueno, en mi sentir creo que es mejor vender barato, pero vender a muchos a vender a uno caro, ¿me entiendes? Y creo que eso es un poco lo que pasa también en la Liga Mexicana y lo que mis compañeros me han hablado. Por ejemplo, Antuna, que tuvo una oferta y no lo dejaron salir, Charlie tuvo una oferta y no lo dejaron salir, y de esos hay miles de ejemplos, ¿no? Creo que esa parte se tienen que encargar. Yo no soy responsable, ni ustedes, ni ningún jugador, pero creo que tanto la federación como los dueños nos deberían por ahí de apoyar, siendo mexicanos, a la selección nacional para que más jugadores salgan y puedan cumplir su sueño.
All right, all right. So, for those that don't speak Spanish, Ante just saying that, he's not happy that clubs make it very difficult for Mexicans to go abroad. And he dropped some names. Antuna and Charlie both had offers, and Cruz Azul didn't let him go. And he said that he wishes that they would change their mindset and, try to export as many players, maybe at a cheaper,
Yeah.
price, but at a higher velocity or quantity. But Joel, I'd like to hear your takes on this comment by Santi Jimenez today.
Yeah, I think he means well, but he's like way off. Like you could tell he most likely his dad handled all his like contract and all his the business side of the sport, which is good for him and very few players are gonna have that. Someone that knows the game and that's you know who's gonna want the best for you than your own dad. So but he's saying like the club should sell cheap. Well, you really can't sell cheap because you're paying these players a lot of money. So he mentions Antuna. Antuna was signed with Man City. Man City didn't want him. He was at the Galaxy. His contract's expiring. Chivas makes an offer. Man City values him pretty high. I think it's about 11 million, Jaime, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
Chivas pays that money. And if anyone's followed Chivas, they know Chivas is they rarely buy players at that price range. It's not like they buy one every season. Um, and so it's difficult for them to land a player like that. And they took a gamble because I remember when they signed him, and there's a lot of criticisms that they overpaid, and the Man City didn't even want him. Obviously, any other Euro team didn't want him either. Um, but he ends up doing really well. So then, if an offer comes in and you're Chivas, why are you going to sell him for half of what you paid for? Like, how does that make any sense? And how are you going to call the club greedy or saying that they're making it difficult for the player? If you're on Tuna, he made his choice right there. It's like he's saying they're paying 11 million for me. They're not going to sell me for less than that. So at that point, you could say, all right, I'm going to write out my contract. I'm going to play till I got 6 months left. And at that point, clubs will usually sell you cheaper because they don't want to miss out. He ended up going to Cruz Azul. Pretty sure he's getting paid good money. But that's what happens with a lot of these players, where it's like, that's the sacrifice they have to make. Do not sign a contract extension and then take a gamble and see if you're going to get an offer from Europe or even make it in Europe. And, a lot of these guys is not just going, it could mean 3 years. That's how long the sacrifice could be. It could be 3 years. You're already not making that much money or as much as you think you could. And so, like, say, whatever Mex team, they can say, okay, we're going to pay you like 2 million a season for 3 years. That's 6 million already. And they're like, oh shit. And that's not including sponsorship deals they might get and bonuses for, games played, goals scored, whatnot. So, I mean, they say, okay, 3 years, I'm going to have 6 guaranteed. Or I could play the last year I have at whatever they're making, and then go to Europe and still not make that much. And it's for them, it's like it could be 2-3 years where they're not going to make substantial amount. So very few players are going to be willing to take that deal. Most are going to be like, fuck it, let me, can you show me the money? Which is what we saw with Pizarro. I don't know if you remember when he came to Chivas, right? It was like 17 million. 17 million from Pachucas to Chivas. And he was one of the players that wanted to go abroad. Like Chucky had gone and one more other guy from Pachuca.
Guti.
I'm forgetting his name. Yeah, Guti. So he's like, dude, I'm next in line. but the offers weren't coming. And all of a sudden, it's like Chivas willing to pay that much. And if they're paying that much, of course they're going to be paying them a good amount, of wages. And that's where his choice comes in and saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm not signing. They can't force you. As much as they say, sometimes the players, they really can't. And we've seen from examples of other players that said, fuck it, I'm leaving. It worked out on their favor. Puli being one of the main ones, where Tigres even had like a contract thing showing that Pulido had signed a contract extension because he left on a free transfer. He ended up leaving, and he ended up leaving, to Greece, and FIFA ultimately, because it went to the courts and everything, he still ended up staying over there and being able to play. But what happened was that he couldn't hack it for whatever reason. And then this is the other thing that, the fans will say, oh no, you're the Federación, the evil Federación is going to, blacklist you. Dude still came back, signed with Chivas, played, even got to play with the national team.
Yeah. So I think we can't really generalize because everyone's contract is different. And maybe some players don't really have much control or say in their own, transfer.
Yeah. And Jaime, there's been players that were smart enough. So I'll give you a good example. What was his name? He was at Chivas, and then they sent him to Cruz Azul. So Marco Fabian, que sent to Cruz Azul, option to buy, and then this is when De La Torre returned. De La Torre and his brother, when they returned to Chivas, shortly before Almeida. So that's the timeline. He goes to him and he says, "All right, look, dude, I'm gonna hook you up," and his contract had a release clause. So whatever they agreed to pay him, I'm sure they came to an amount, maybe not as much as he could have made had he stayed at Cruz Azul, but he gave him that release clause so that the team from Germany came and facilitated, and he left, no problem. They did the same thing with Cesar Montes. No, not Cesar Montes, Carlos Salcedo. Carlos Salcedo, they put him from Real Salt Lake, same thing, his contract had a release clause. And so sometimes you have the release clause, special contract right there. And I'm guessing they're taking some type of pay cut. Because you can't just expect the club to take the L. That's the other thing, Jaime, and we've seen it here time and time again. A lot of these teams, they're bleeding money. When we see the really strong teams, it's not because the club has money, it's because the people that own the club have money. So money like America, with Televisa, they're backed by Televisa, Tigres, backed by Cemex, Monterrey, FEMSA.
Mm-hmm.
So they lose money. They lose money all day, every day. FEMSA they're in the billions. It doesn't even pay them. They can afford that. And that's the one thing where I think a lot of fans don't even think of this shit. It's like it doesn't go through their mind. Some of these clubs are barely making enough, and then you want them to sell their star player to let them go for cheap.
But if we,
yeah, so I think with Santi, I want to say he's a little bit out of line with his comments. You can't really tell your club how to run negotiations and business, right? Like at the end of the day, you are their property. As fucked up as that sounds, that's true. These guys don't belong to anyone but the club. And unless you have a really good agent, then you don't really have much speaking terms, and you can't dictate what you can and can't do. And we've heard it time and time again. There's been offers for players, and this goes back to, from when I started first watching Liga MX, I remember there were plenty of times where we heard, Omar Bravo, Osvaldo, like they've had legitimate offers to go abroad, and for some reason they don't pan out. Maybe the price wasn't right, but the player themselves expressed their desire to go and have
Yeah.
their chances abroad. So I understand both sides, but I don't understand, like, hey, like, you should sell us for cheap. Like, who the fuck is you to say that? Like, this is this is my business. Why would I sell it for half the price? This ain't Groupon. How dare you suggest, so, and I get it. There's other ways to make up for that money, right? Instead of
Yeah.
taking a fat offer for 10 million, you sell them for 5 with a future clause in case they sell again.
Well, yeah. Well, see, that's Pachuca, and it's easy for Pachuca to do that because they could just go to South America and for that like 4 or 5 million, go and find a player of equal value, if you have equal talent. If you're Chivas, you really can't do that. It'll be hard for you to replace a player. It's slim pickings. So you
Yeah.
can't hate on a club for valuing their players or wanting to hold on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, it comes from fans that are like national team fans, and that's cool. You don't care if the club doesn't do shit. They never win as long as they're sending players abroad. But that's not how this team is going to make, is going to stay relevant. They're going to stay relevant by winning championships or being very competitive. I bet there's teams in Uruguay that send players to Europe. You guys haven't heard of them. Nobody gives a shit because they never win.
Yeah, Liga
most people
MX.
haven't heard of Danubio. Who the fuck's Danubio? Who gives a shit?
We've talked about it time and time again. Liga MX is a unique case where they don't need to rely on they're not a fisherman's league. They don't have to export to stay sustainable. They can do transfers within their league, within their bubble, within Monterrey, Tigres, America.
Yeah.
We're a self-sustaining league. The money comes in, comes out. We don't necessarily need to sell players in order to profit, So that is a unique situation for Liga MX, and I can't say that's the same for any team or any league in North America. MLS clearly does not operate that way. They have nothing to lose by exporting players at a cheap price. So
Well, yeah, and then their whole contract thing is also way different.
it is different.
The way it's structured. So a lot of the players earn less money for longer periods of time, and so it's easier for those players to leave abroad because they're not really taking the nail. Neither is the club. So it's that makes it easy, but that's been always the case. Like I find it a little bit well, it's just because the fans are not that informed. But even if you go back to like '94, since before MLS, and the US team had more players in Europe, they were sending them from college. So just that you went to Europe doesn't mean that you're all that. Just means you were able to go and able to stay in the club. Could be third division, fourth, but they've always had more players over there.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, you're the one that signs the contract. So if you're trying to go abroad, right, it's your job to negotiate that clause in your own contract. And that's why you can't really blame anyone but yourself. If you're a player like Charlie or Antuna, and you're like, hey, we've just received an offer for you. You are going to be going to Cruz Azul, and Piojo is going to be coming the other way. You're going to have to go over there and negotiate your contract, right? So if Antuna really wanted to go back out to Europe, why wouldn't he generate a clause where he can go to Europe? Like, hey, if I get an offer from Europe, like I'm allowed to make a play there.
Yeah.
So it comes down to the player.
Yeah, I mean, there's been deals, now that you mentioned that have fallen through because of that. Where it was like, we're going to trade players, but then the one player couldn't come in agreement with the other clubs.
Like Cordova?
Oh, it's a lot, but it's
I know Cordova was being used as negotiation with Antuna, right? When Chivas were trying to trade him, and
oh yeah, but
Cordova said, "No, I'd rather go to Tigres because there's more trophies."
yeah, but I mean, I think different, more different in the sense of like, give me that transfer club, I want to, and the team might not because they could think, well, I'm not bringing you here so you could live in 6 months. We're bringing you here because we see you as a key player and at least play here 2 years, and that could be like the difference. It was like, nah,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah, because he was talking about long-term planning. Something saying that if they let players go, that in the long term it would benefit. And it's like, not really. That's always been the talking points of saying like, bless you, saying that the more players, that you have, that it'll be better. And we've seen a lot of national teams that their whole squad is in Europe and they haven't really done anything. So ultimately, it comes down to having a strong league, not necessarily having all these players in Europe. Mostly you've seen it with African teams, teams like Senegal and Ghana and whatnot. With the whole squad has been playing in Europe since they're 10, and they're just like Mex, where they just group stage, or they don't even go to the World Cup.
Yeah, look, if you really want to go to Europe, you'll find a way to make it out there. That's it. It all comes down to the player. Antuna's already been out there. I'm sure if he really wanted to go to Europe, he'd find a way. But right now, he's getting paid the big bucks in Mexico. He's one of the stars of the national team. And I'm sure that going to Europe, he'll find a way. He'll find a way. If he really wants to go to Europe, he'll find a way. Same thing with Charlie. I think if these kids really wanted to go in Europe, they'd be in Europe already, regardless of their contract situation. If you truly have that desire, you'll make it happen. And if you're good, enough,
I wouldn't say regardless of the contract because the contract ties you to the club. So
yeah, but I mean, you can just write out your contract and not sign an extension.
Yeah, well, that's what these guys they say. They don't take that. They will rarely take that gamble. Very few will do that.
That's the thing. It's like you don't trust yourself. You don't believe in yourself. That if that's the case, if you don't think that you'll get an offer, so it comes down to mindset.
Well, yeah, to me it's more the money part because it's like we stated before a lot of players they were from very poor upbringing, and once they get a big contract, they could take care of like their whole family, even extended family. They buy houses and cars and kind of have it made already.
Like prime example, right? Alexis Vega, if he really wanted to go to Europe, as shitty as that deal was, he could have gone to Europe. He could have gone to Wolves for 6 months if he really wanted to, but he didn't.
Yeah, but he knew he was such a dude.
Meanwhile,
I don't think he would trust the medical.
Macias really, really wanted to go, and he was willing to take a step back and go to Getafe, right? So
and then they were saying he wasn't even getting paid.
That's what I'm saying.
To that point where
that proves my point, though. It's like if you really, really want to go to Europe, you'll find a way to make it out there. Either if it means like you mentioned, not even getting paid or paying half your clause. Like look at Luis Chavez, right? He's in freaking Russia. He was having to pay his release clause. Well, your audio is kind of like choppy.
Choppy.
I think you might be too far.
No, I have it next to me.
Oh, okay.
All right, let me just.
Yeah, you sound better now.
Okay, well, no, we had like the example of I'm forgetting his name, Orbelin, and they're going to Greece. I don't think they're really paying him what he could be making. And same with Pizarro. right? Leaves MLS. They just let him go, and he could have returned to Mex, and he saw that opportunity finally came, and he
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things. If you really want to go to Europe, you'll find a way. You'll take a paycheck cut. You'll buy out your own release clause. Like, there's ways to get out there to Europe if you really want to go. And if you're good enough, you'll get the offers that the clubs are seeking. I know there are some ridiculous expectations sometimes, and you might not be able to get that chance to go. But man, I think it just comes down to mindset. It also comes down to just making sure that you have a legitimate contract where you have those clauses in place. But I think everyone likes to look the other way based on how much money they're paying and how much teams are willing to throw at you. With other results in Liga MX, Atlas and Atlas and León just finished up. They tied 1-1. It was one of those makeup games. So León and Atlas tied 1-1. Tomorrow, Rayados and Tijuana will play, and also Juarez and San Luis. As far as the results over the weekend, Mazatlan took care of business 3-1 over Atlas. Juarez lost to Pachuca, and Chivas had a piece of that super camote. They won 2-0 thanks to a penalty kick by Piojo Alvarado and an incredible chilena by Ronaldo Cisneros, who, I'll be honest, man, this kid, I had my doubts about him. He traveled to, I think, Atlanta and didn't do anything, came back to Chivas with the tail between his legs. But Paunovic has put some faith in him, and he came in as a sub and scored a golazo. So happy for Ronaldo Cisneros.
This was the guy that came from Souls when they brought in like 3 youth
Correct.
toward the end of like the Higuera regime.
Yeah, he was
Wait,
he was at Santos, and then he joined Chivas.
Yeah, whoever's the coach, they might see something in you, and they'll put you in their system, and some guys might just be like, for whatever reason, you're trash. Happened to Cheech with Moyes and with Van Gaal.
Mm-hmm.
On the bench. I remember that one season, right? He's
You're cutting out again, Joel.
I have the phone next to me.
Yeah.
Is it still cutting off?
No.
Yeah, and then remember he goes to Germany and he scores like 18 goals. He had more goals than Man U.
Yeah.
At times it could just be the culture of the sport, which it just shows how difficult it could be to make it in the sport.
This is a universal truth. If your manager doesn't rate you, they'll find a way to get rid of you. And people leave managers, not jobs. And that's the truth. That is the truth. It happens in careers and it happens in sports. If you're just not gelling with the manager, if a manager doesn't like you or doesn't have a use for you, then you're going to be having a bad time. And somebody else can get way more out of you, but it's that belief in you. There's some managers that can get a lot out of players that other managers wouldn't rate. And
that's what's happening with River Plate with Gallardo. He was that type of manager that he got players to overperform, and a lot of them went abroad and they couldn't hack it. Like not expected.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go back to Chivas in a second. Want to go over some of these other results. Leon,
Well, just one quick example of how you were saying the manager not rating you,
uh-huh.
and you could be very talented. But I'm going with Van Gaal again, and he just didn't like Riquelme,
Yeah.
and that guy, in his prime, he's one of the best players in the world, and that guy couldn't get a break. It was just, at least with the coach.
Right. Yeah, just Riquelme, like imagine not figuring out how to use him. Same thing with Di Maria. I almost forgot that he went to Manchester United, but he did. And he it just didn't work out. He hated that place and yeah, they just couldn't get, I remember also Forlan, he was at Manchester United and Fergie couldn't figure him out, man. Same thing with Veron. He went to Manchester United. It's just like some of these dudes are really talented, but they just don't fit into your schematics. So Leon took care of business over Toluca 1-0, and then an incredible, entertaining match between America and Santos. I feel like they always have great matches. It ended up becoming a 4-3 back and forth, entertaining match there. And yeah, that was probably the best game of the weekend. What is it with like Santos and America? They have like an interesting relationship because I feel like a lot of great players at Santos end up playing for America. It's like they have some kind of truce.
They're still gonna have it after Orlegui got booted from the national team. I can see the word ceremony.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right. Through the years, they've been one of the teams that has fed America some pretty good players.
Yeah, it's like
Hermoso being one of the
it's like
ones.
their sister club, Voso as well. Querétaro beat Tijuana 1-0. Tigres beat Cruz Azul 2-1. And Pumas at the last minute lost to Rayados at home 1-0. I don't know if you saw Turco Mohamed's shirt. It was pretty baller with the Virgen de Guadalupe.
It looks like those shirts they sell at the Swami. And they're next to those half and half national team shirts. Those half US, half Mex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was an interesting kit. And then the controversial match over there, San Luis versus Necaxa, 4-0. Did you see the own goal, Joel? Oh, you cut out there.
Am I still cutting out?
There you go.
Another thing that the back pass to the goalkeeper, like,
yeah,
that's a no, dude.
That's a big no.
You never pass it. You never pass it straight back. You pass it and just put it as far as you can to the other side. But you don't. And not only did he did a back pass, he did a lob. he did a golazo, dude. Also golazo, dude. You see the goalkeeper trying to head it. He got close, dude. That's a good hop.
Yeah, it was bad. This kid, it was his debut, and he comes in, and he it was supposed to go to his goalkeeper, but this is stuff that you should know, like in first grade. If you ever pass the ball back to the goalkeeper, number one, keep it on the fucking ground. Like, you're not gonna lob it to your goalkeeper, dude. He can't use his hands. Number two, aim away like slightly to the left or to the right of the goal, so in case he does mess up or it doesn't go into the back of the net. So whoever, his entire life, every coach has failed him because this is like 101 shit, dude. It's like when you mess up a a throw in. It's like, dude, has no one taught you how to take a throw in? This is something you do every day when you're like, starting the basics of football.
Yeah, basically, when I was just starting to play, and these like amateur teams, but it was youth. And I remember I got my ass chewed by the coach. He said I did a back pass, It was on the floor. It was on the ground, but he's, you know, as soon as the keeper kicked it out, man, they chewed my ass off. And they're there to do it again, and I think this guy was stuck in cascarita mode. With this, there's no portería, there's like two backs on the floor. You could,
Anytime I see something like that, I always have to think, was that intentional? Was there some match fixing going on? Because
Nah,
Necaxa scored 2 own goals.
damn.
So
This was a big deal, man. If he was gonna, if he was gonna like sell out, I hope he did it for a lot of money because this was his first match. You know,
I'm trying to find out who's Necaxa's coach, and y se le están teniendo la cama,
yeah, and I don't think a rookie would do that though, man. I don't think you just begin to play and think you could just kill your whole career at that point. Because
Eduardo
we'll get around.
Fentanes. I don't even know who that is.
Same dude. I never heard of that guy.
Looks like
Probably Argentine,
he was always an assistant. He was Mexico's assistant in 2008. He was Chivas' assistant in 2012.
Okay.
And looks like he was coaching Santos before this. Huh. Oh, he assisted Sven-Goran Eriksson. Tells you everything you need to know about this guy.
And with the Mexican,
You cut out there, what?
assisted Sven with the Mexican national.
Yeah, he was assistant coach to Sven.
He had a few there. Like, what was this dude's name? See, I don't even remember. That tells you all. I mean, he could have had better assistants.
I wanted to go back to the Chivas discussion. Joel, how do you feel about how they handled the Alexis Vega, Chicote Calderon situation? They publicly went on record saying, hey, these guys have been removed from the first team. And then they decided to forgive them. Should they have even made any of this public? Should have they just kept it internally and private?
Yeah, they jumped the gun. But I heard two stories. Was that Pauno decided to give them stand, and then the other story was that these guys had a pretty strong contract binding that prohibit us from just.
Joel, sorry, man. You keep you sound like very like the audio's not that good.
Damn.
Yeah, like
It's still bad.
sounds like auto tune at times.
Shit. Okay, let me reboot.
Sure.
Let me reboot it. Is it bad right now?
It sounds fine when you talk, but then it'll like start sounding choppy.
Oh, just real quick, saying that the conflicting stories. I don't know if you heard of them. Pau forgiving them, and the second one that the contracts were pretty tight, sealed contracts where the club can just dispose of them, and either or could be true.
Yeah.
We will find out though. Eventually, could be 5 years from now. And one of these podcasts where it doesn't matter anymore.
Joel, what this reminds me of? I don't know if you ever watched the show The Office, but
yeah, I have.
It was in the later seasons where the guy Gabe, like the skinny, awkward, beta manager that they had, he's like, I'm gonna suspend you without pay, and then he realizes that he can't do that, and then Jim and Pan realize that he doesn't have the power to do that, so then they just go home, and then they're like, hey, did they just go home with pay? And they're like, no. He's like, like I think Paunovic realized he didn't realize that if he was to, do that, they would have to pay out the rest of their contract, and I think that's where he had to like
Yeah.
just take the
Yeah,
L.
dude.
But it's
Well, we'll
it's it's
see.
it's just one of those things where Chivas need better PR. Number one, like these stories cannot be getting leaked out. They need to have yeah, I'm sure all the other clubs in Mexico have these type of things that happen, but they just have better PR. And I don't know, man. Maybe they try to cheapen it. Maybe it's like someone's nephew that they hired for the PR, and they realize like they could save money there. But you need to
Like the
have,
person running the
dude.
Chivas English account.
Exactly, as a team as big as Chivas and all the followers they have and what it means. Like you need to have world class PR. That's just number one. Number two, I think all of this could have just been held privately. Like, oh, if the press starts asking, hey, like what's going on with Vega and Chicote, we haven't seen him in the last couple games. Just hey, they're dealing with some personal things. Like they'll be reincorporated with the team at a later time, and not even say, hey, we've pulled them aside because they've been bad boys. Because then it's like, dude, you give the press and you give everybody else the opportunity to speculate and start to cause all this drama. That I mean, they have to see this stuff. It has to affect them, right? So I just think it was a bad call to begin with.
Eventually it blows over too, where the media moves on to something else. And then no one's talking about it anymore.
Like even with Manchester United, right? They've been dealing with a lot of drama, with like a couple of players having domestic violence and domestic abuse, but they don't actually go into the details. They don't, they just say, hey, like pending investigation, we're doing this. It's like, that's it. You just keep it super, super short and you handle it internally. You don't have to explain your thought process. You don't have to explain in details what they did. You just say, hey, like this is happening, and they'll get reincorporated with the team at a later time. Like that's it. You don't have to go and say there was hookers and it's like, dude, like you don't have to tell us that.
Yeah, no, you're right, dude. You're right. It's been bad.
And now that they've been out, Chivas have been winning again. So what do you do now? Like, what do you do?
I keep them out.
Yeah.
If eventually if these guys start seeing the team doing well and they really want to be a part of the success, then they're gonna have to hustle and work hard to win back that a place in the first team. And that's something that I feel has been lacking with Chivas, just because it's a team that doesn't have a lot of depth. So you could relax as a first team player, then you don't have that many players trying to knock you down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like Alexis, as soon as he got his massive contract, he just like deflated.
Hell yeah.
He hasn't been able to perform, because he's the highest paid player, national team. Everything was called to be the star player, the key player, and he just hasn't been able to do that.
As soon as he got that contract. He just, as soon as he signed that deal, bro. Yeah. And his contract doesn't expire till next year, June. Meanwhile, Chicote, he's done after this season. So if you have to sit him, let him rot on the bench for the rest of this season, and then maybe you try to give Alexis another run to try to get some money off of him. But I don't know. I think both of those players will be departing Chivas eventually. They have a match against Tigres on Saturday, which should be good.
Yeah, that should be a really good matchup.
but the team's doing better without him. Like, what is there to say? You know, it's true.
Well, yeah, keep them out, and hopefully that motivates them to step up their game.
Like, you know, you're a bum when Isaac Brizuela, bro, is balling out on your position. Like, Brizuela's been solid since Vega got pulled out. He's been a starter, and he's been carrying the team, and he's been at Chivas for a decade. It feels like he's been there a long time. And
Yeah, I always like Venezuela, but I feel like they're always moving him around.
yeah,
He's like expendable.
they didn't know where to put him when they got Vega and all these other players. He kind of lost like the depth chart, but now that Vega's not there, he's been stepping up. You've had Yal Padilla and Brigido step up, so I like this energy. I like this team without Vega and without Chicote. Honestly, it's been a breath of fresh air. Everyone that's in there is bought in. They're gelling, and it's almost like addition by subtraction. You know, you got rid of two party animals, two locker room problems, and now you have players that are bought in and ready to fight for every game. So I hope I don't see them against Tigres. I rather just leave them rot on the bench or send them to the stands. I'm all for that.
Cosign, Jaime. I'm a cosign on that.
Santi Jimenez will have his debut in Champions League against Lazio tomorrow. I've been talking shit this whole time. Unfortunately, Habibi, the number one fan, isn't here tonight. But we'll see how he does against Lazio. This is not your typical Dutch league defending. So I'm very curious to see how he does.
Yeah, and I wish him well, despite not liking his comments. I want him to do good. As long as he don't look like Messi on that one video.
Messi's just chilling, bro. And the thing about Messi is like he can get away with doing that, walking most of the game, because all he needs is one chance, and he'll put it away.
Yeah, he's very effective.
I caught him against Peru. They played qualifiers during the international break, and this dude's doing the same thing. He's just walking around. He gets one ball and he puts it in the back of the net. Like, it's like, dude, this guy is so good. He can just like go on autopilot and still win matches.
That was Pibe Valderrama. I got to see him play. Obviously, when he came to the MLS, he was with I think the Mutinies, Tampa Bay
Fusion, no?
Or the Fusion, or one of those teams. Wait, do they even exist anymore?
Oh no, yeah, you're right. It was the Mutiny.
Yeah, that was the first team, and then I think the Fusion team.
I think Miami Fusion, right, was the other team.
Did they both disappear?
Of course they did, bro.
Al Pastor's not here. He's our MLS guru. He knows all things.
They were founded in '94 and dissolved in 2002.
Oh, damn. Yeah, but I mean, I got to see him play, and I remember most of the time he would just be walking around, but when he did get the ball, his passing was just superb.
It's just when you're that good, dude, you can just turn it on, turn it off whenever you want. We'll see how he does tomorrow in Champions League. Chucky played today. They tied against Lens 1-1. But it's just sad. I used to get excited about Champions League because we would have Mexicans there. Porto at one point had like 5 Mexicans. We had Chicharito when he was at both Manchester and Leverkusen. And now it's like, who's playing Champions, dude? Like almost nobody. Chucky and PSV, and then you have Santi Jimenez at Feyenoord. So that's about it. I know Guardado's at Betis, but I think Betis plays in Europa League. They don't They don't qualify for Champions League. So
Mm.
yeah, it is what it is. Trying to see if there's anything else I missed with Liga MX this weekend. Kind of soccer related, but how do you feel about David Faitelson joining Televisa? It's like weird, right?
Yeah, a bit surprised. He kind of built his career talking shit. But not too surprised. I mean, Televisa's always had that sway, you know, and they have pretty much control the national team. So he could be like pretty much have access to all of that, to the national team, to getting the interviews or to having a lot of the stories or the news first. Not that he needs that, but you know, that just it's massive to have that pool now.
Yeah. It's just weird, you know. It's
Guess
like his whole career, he was at what, like the anti,
Azteca, yeah.
yeah,
The Azteca, yeah, where it was that was kind of like the anti, you know, and they did like a disservice because a lot of the stuff it just created like, I mean, like where with the fans where they vilify things without truly understanding them, and it was made for these reasons for ratings and whatnot, which kind of stopped along a while back where you didn't have that televisora war anymore. They were now sharing streams and whatnot, or crossing streams, however you want, Jaime. But you know that kind of that beef sort of went away, but kind of were able to keep it. Jose Ramon moving into ESPN, and so now it was like from a different, you know, from a different spot where they kind of were able to continue some of that.
Mm.
But yeah, with Faitelson now there, it's kind of they won. it's like they won the fight.
Speaking about winning the fights, we have our number one fan here, Ricardo, joining us tonight.
Welcome, Ricardo.
And what a fight they had against Santos the other day. I was talking about earlier on the pod. Ricardo, feel free to speak up and give us your perspective of that match.
How's it going, gentlemen?
We're doing good, man. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on once again. Like you mentioned, it was an epic game, and as usual, America comes out on top.
Yeah, sounds like you lost your voice screaming all the goals, man.
No, it was my Astros, man. My Astros. They let me
Ooh.
down. Got porked.
Getting your shit pushed in by the Rangers, bruh.
Oh yeah, I'm used to it, man. I was there in 2005 when they got swept. This is all new. The success is all new to me because for my entire life they've been garbage, but it had to end eventually.
Adolis Garcia is your daddy.
For now, yes. But you guys, what were you guys talking about? I overheard Faitelson being mentioned. Him finally bending the knee.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
It goes to show you everyone has a price, man.
Everybody does have a price. You know who doesn't have a price? Santi Jimenez, who publicly said he would never play for Club America.
Let me get my tissue box. I'm over here crying, man.
I'm surprised he said that because didn't his dad play there? Like,
his dad played there and he couldn't cut it. Nah, he really didn't get a chance like that, but I'm just hating, but yeah, he played at America for one season, I believe.
I feel like you never know where you're gonna end up, and Santa Jimenez's career, he might have to revisit that statement at a later time and regret saying it publicly.
Maybe, but nowadays with all these teams, all the MLS popping up and Monterrey and Tigres, he has options, especially with all the Chemo fake news consumers. Like I don't want to mention them because después se enojan.
Yeah, we need to have a moment of silence for Cruz Azul fans. It sounds like Diego Coca might be a candidate to coach them. Yikes.
He's a good coach, though. He's a good coach, Jaime.
Yeah, he's so good. He lasted what, 3 months in Mexico? I don't know.
Yeah, because he lost one game,
Oh
and,
man.
and the Mex fans have they've been taught to get all butthurt over losing to the U.S. It's like a crime now. But I think he's a really good coach. I think with the national team, I don't think he was doing that bad. Um, he wasn't playing the way we would want the team to play, but uh, don't be surprised, man. Don't be surprised if he gets Cruz Azul to turn their fortunes around.
Goes to show, if you want job security, just coach in Mexico, dude. There will always be something lined up for you.
But I mean, he has his doblete at Atlas. Do you mean that doesn't count anymore?
I think like it's impossible to recover after you fail in the national team.
Uh,
Like which
It
coach
depends.
like recovered from the national team after getting, like, you talk about fracasos like Hugo Sanchez, Ojitos Mesa, Sven Goran Eriksson.
Ojitos Mesa, it did take him a long time, but I think with Ojitos, because he had just had to me, Ojitos was the big tragedy because he was the coach of Toros Nesa, which was just one of the best clubs to watch. It was a small club, but they were playing like a equipo grande. They crashed in the final with Chivas, with like 5-0. But still, it was just a wonderful team. And then what he did at Toluca, which is very impressive. And then he gets the national team, and people are expecting the national team to be a copy of that. And it was the opposite, man. Mex got dragged. People talk about dark ages. They need to revisit the Ojitos era, man. It was just the results, man. It was just hard to follow. And so I
But he's
think
the
of
only
like,
coach with the Sudamericana. I wouldn't
yeah,
say he's
yeah.
a complete
No, no,
flop.
no. I'm not calling him a flop. I was saying the tragedy of how he was at the top, and then his whole stint with the national team was a fracaso. It was just horrible. Did he win? I'm guessing he did. He wins it after the national team, right? After he got booted.
After he gets booted, he ends up coaching Atlas, and then Cruz Azul, Toluca, Pachuca, where he won the Copa Sudamericana.
So it was Pachuca.
So it took him,
When he,
it took him a while. Like you mentioned, it took him about,
It did.
6-7 years to recover from his fracaso.
and I wrote an article about that because I did write about that when he won it. I just forgotten, dude. If you guys don't mention it, I would have not remembered. But I remember writing about just how long it took him to recover. But I just think a big part was just what he happened to do at those two clubs, which is like not an easy thing to do, man. You rarely even see coaches have team playing at that level, being that good. You could say a lot of things lined up where he just had very talented teams because Toros Mesa, dude, the players they had like Tony Ruiz and Turco and all of those guys were just very, very talented. Same at Toluca.
That Pachuca team was fucking stacked, man. Like in the
Crazy.
Sudamericana one,
I forgot who was on that team.
it was I'm forgetting that Argentine's name that ended up at Tigres. He's
Oh,
always
Chilindrina?
was it him? I'm forgetting, man. I know they had what's his name? That guy that got fired from Bravos, he was there too, and so was Santi's dad. I remember it being a good team, man.
Yeah.
Hey, but going back to what's his name? Coke, Diet Coke, Coca.
That's a good one.
You said that he has to be campeonato, yes. But everyone was saying the same thing about Tuca when he got to Cruz Azul, that he was gonna come and fix things, impose his style, and that.
But it was,
It didn't work.
but I mean, how? But
No, but I'm not blaming
Tucker,
Tuca so much. But their front office or whatever you want to call it. It's
yeah,
a shit show, man. They're just not gonna get the players the coach wants, and it's gonna leak in the media, and it's gonna be another novela for them.
yeah. Well, I mean, I still think he's a good coach. I think that it was messed up what happened with the national team because to me it was like a shit show from the beginning with the whole announcing the national team committee, and it was fake. It was never really meant to be anything serious. Then the committee never really named the coach. It was really Orlegi that had been giving the reins, and Orlegi put in his people, and then it was pretty much from the start just negative vibes. But it was just all negativity, and then they lose that game to the U.S. where the team just looked like they looked like they weren't even trying. To be honest, to me, it looked like they were just half-assing it, and within that defeat just pretty much buried the coach.
They tucked them in.
I completely feel that way. I
There,
think I don't think you know what I, I don't think is what the national team needed. I do feel they need someone more like Jimmy. That's just how these Mexican players are. They need someone they could vibe with, or they could kind of like feel comfortable around. And this dude seemed to be very like strict, and they just didn't
professional.
like it. Dude, I'm reading the reports and I'm like, how the fuck is this news? Like it felt embarrassing. Like, oh, the players didn't like that they're 2 hours away from the shopping center. I'm like, dude, you're there to play, not to fucking, you're not on an outing, and that the trainings were too long. And I'm like, why is this being reported? To me, it's making the players look bad, but somehow it made the coach look bad because now he's this tyrant. But I don't think just he would have been able to win the locker room unless he would have without like doing something like getting maybe like the Orlegi people in there, and then that alone would have just caused problems. Then you would have a very divided, you know, national team. So but yeah. So I just think it was a mistake putting them from the start.
And from what for after the smoke cleared, it's kind of suspicious to me because some people, some reporters, and even Coca has implied that he was kind of forced to take the national team job.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
From by leaving, they forced him to leave Tigres and take that job.
Huh. Interesting.
And you're mentioning the Cruz Azul thing, and right after he got fired, he was in. I remember calling in and telling you guys that he was linked to the Cruz Azul job.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up Tigres because if I'm Coca, yeah, I'm not taking the national team. You're at
Yeah.
Tigres is like one of the best jobs you could have.
Why would you?
You're gonna have like one of the strongest. Well, especially if you're Argentine and coming off of the World Cup that just happened, like they throw you into a burning building with a wet brick. You, that was just yeah. You know what I, I I'm willing to believe that they just use them as wicker man, dude. Sacrifice them.
Yeah, it was strange. He was just getting settled in over that Tigres. Free reign, unlimited checkbook, blank checkbook. And, to do that, to go from that to coaching the national team, it was kind of like a heel turn, like, huh? And everybody was upset. Tigres were upset, the fans were upset. It's like, it was just a bad move.
Yeah, I remember an argument back then. I remember where I was telling you if I'm Coca, the only way I go to the Nat team is if they give me a 4-year contract, and if they sack me after Gold Cup or before, I got my money, dude. Because there's no way I leave Tigres. That's one of the highest paying jobs, and one of the, if you could get to Tigres and kind of emulate what Tuca did, and be there like a good 10 years. That's man, you have a solid career there. You're driving around Monterrey in your Ferrari, you're sleeping in a bed where it's full of dollar bills. It's just good life, man.
When you said that, I just pictured Tuca like in that Scarface scene when he's when Manolo's with that blonde when he answers the phone call.
What is it?
That
I was
blonde
thinking
girl.
the scene where he has the mountain of cocaine.
Oh, I don't know about that. I was thinking about the other scene.
Who Manolo? Is Manolo
It's
the guy
been a
that
while.
hooks up with his sister?
No,
He
yeah,
kills him?
his best friend, the one he
His
killed.
buddy? Yeah. All right.
So, Ricardo, how does it feel? First place, 30 points, 13 matches. Are you not concerned about the super leader curse?
Always concerned because the America detractors always say wait for Liguilla, and they have a point. Obviously, I mean they got eliminated in the last two Liguillas that way, but I just feel if they don't overthink it and they just do what they have to do. I think. I mean, people make a big deal about the defense, but their offense, there isn't anyone in the league that can score like them. They could win games 4-3, 3-2, or it'll always be high scoring games, and they can get away with that, in my opinion. But all you need to do is have a mistake, just like against Toluca with Coladera. He's scared to jump up for the ball, and he closes his eyes, and the ball goes in the net. And they just bunker ball on you, and they'll shut the game down, and it's harder to score when the other team doesn't try to play. You always have to worry about that.
I feel like Igor was a good reinforcement for y'all.
Oh, I seen online that people were hating on that, and I remember when he was at Necaxa, man. I always thought he was a good player. He just happened to be on Tigres, which is all they just stack every position they have, man. You see now they've been buying players left to right. Joel mentioned Coca not wanting to leave, like having that job. I mean, who wouldn't want to have that job? That every year they reinforce every position, man. You see they got my gallo Oziel Herrera.
Dude, they have I forgot they have Marcelo Flores.
Man, he looks like a little kid out on that field, man. I can't even take him serious. He's like the little mascot.
he's like, in baseball, the bat boy. He's the bat boy.
He's the bad boy. He's like the Nintendo, the Wii.
He's just the guy that cleans everyone's boots.
The Wii Sports.
You would go to a lobby and then you have like these little dudes walking around.
Little dudes.
And then So I don't really have one. I'll go to my friend's house. But yeah, you had like a lobby,
Yeah, the little
and you could
Mies.
put it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go, the little me,
yeah, he's a
and you
little.
could customize him, and they would just be white, and he would. My friend would customize for like the people he knew, so it was just trippy watching them because
Yeah,
you could tell who you could tell who it was, just because of a hat or a beard. It's
yeah.
kind of was it reminded me one of those.
Let me go off the table right now. So America first place, 30 points. Tigres in second with 25. San Luis in third with 22. Pumas in fourth with 21. Chivas in fifth with 21. And Monterrey with 20 in sixth position. These, if the table was to stay like this, all six of them would have a pass to the Liguilla. And then for the play-in, you have León in seventh, Toluca in eighth, Tijuana in ninth, and Atlas in 10th. So
It's
those,
no longer to 12, Jaime.
no, you have top six and then two play-ins. Yeah.
Isn't it 7 and 8 play and 9 and 10 play?
Correct.
And the winner between both of them get to have to play each other.
I don't know about that. That's interesting.
I might have been misinformed. I thought I heard someone say that.
I have no idea. I would assume that like the winner of 7 versus 8 would play the team that's in second place, and then 9 versus 10, the winner of that would play America.
I'm still not sold in Liguilla, man. To me, it should be the end of the season. The team with the most points, automatic champion, and then the top 8 could then qualify to like it could be the League Cup. You know what I mean? And then that could they just need to evaluate where it becomes prestigious because I feel that they tend to max devalue their own tournaments. But I think that they should have 2 or 3 tournaments where the league itself and the media and everyone they make them into sort of like what you see in England with with their cups, and it's like you don't need someone else to come in and tell you they're good. They make them good themselves because and then the fans start you know valuing them as well as part of like Liga MX has like mistreated the cup where they've like put it in the back burner for years and then they bring it back and then they have all these like weird, they keep changing the way it's played, the weird formats.
I want Copa
Um,
MX back. I liked it when they cross pollinated with the Liga de Expansión. Those matches were entertaining.
yeah, it was fun. But I'm saying I would just do the as a cup and if you want like a cup like where you could play in the kind of like they have in England, right, which is that the FA Cup
The
where
Carabao
it's
Cup,
even like
the
the
FA Cup.
which one?
Yeah, they have
Well, the one
the
with it's like the fifth division, like you'll have like a fourth
that's
division team. Sometimes get all the way and get to play a first division.
yeah. So
You
they
know,
have the English League Cup, and then they have the FA Cup. Yeah.
there you go.
So they have
And so
they
the
have
FA is
both.
all it's all their the FA covers all of the divisions.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you can have the same. Dude, you can have the same shit in Max. I don't know why. But it just seems like
I completely disagree with you, man. This is what gives
um,
Mexico its mystique. Is what makes it unique. I'm with you with everything else. The Copa MX,
you mean the Liguilla?
with the
But I
Liguilla.
mean, they would
It's
still have
perfect.
Liguilla. They would just do it for the cup tournament.
But the point system, the only you mentioned England is literally the only league in the world that does that right. That makes it exciting. I mean, La Liga. Who gives a shit about La Liga, France,
Yeah.
the Haystack League, the Dutch Fisherman League? No one cares. Like all those
Germany,
leagues are
Germany is
boring.
always fired.
Yeah.
They're always Bayern.
Bundesliga is so boring, man.
Liga MX has a good thing for itself. It just needs to do it right. But that makes too much sense for the Liga MX.
What would doing it right look like though?
The Liguilla having it the top 8,
Top 8.
having a cup, Copa MX, and if you want to add another cup, if you want to squeeze in it, obviously the South American tournaments are out of the table. But if you wanted to squeeze in that crap Leagues Cup, I think you could possibly do that.
You mean like the one with MLS, or what?
Well,
Or which?
yeah, I'm going off what they want to do.
Oh, I
Well, I
see.
know they don't want. I know they don't want to do Copa MX, but in an for if I was the owner of of a team, I would propose something like that. Keep the league up, just top 8. Copa MX was nice, and if you have to have a bullshit cup with the MLS, just spread out the Leagues Cup.
I agree. Yeah, they shouldn't try to do the League's Cup in like one entire like month. They should just spread it out throughout the season, kind of like they do Champions League, right? Like you have
Yeah.
you have your group stage, you get to play at home and then on the road, and then you do it that way. Like I don't understand why they were trying to do it all in 1 month. I think that was kind of stupid. But
Do you guys honestly like because aside from the Premier League, the way their league is structured, the point system, like every other league, like I said, aside from them, do you guys really keep in touch with any other league like that?
you know, I was trying to watch Barcelona. Over, there was nothing on at the time. I think the Pumas game had just wrapped up, and I did tune into the Barcelona match, and like one thing that was very depressing to me is the fact that, bro, they Xavi had nothing but like teenagers out there, dog. They had this one kid who's like 16, and then they had this one kid who made his debut at 17, and he scored within the first minute of him coming on. I'm like, meanwhile, we got fucking 30, 40-year-olds in Liga MX, dude. I'm like, damn, dude, that's so sad.
Hey, but those guys, they'll never be what they were before. Their golden age or their
You mean Barca?
Barcelona.
Yeah.
They'll never be what they were when Messi and all those guys were there. They really fucked
Well, that's
up.
hard. Well, that's hard to replicate, though, man. To have the player like Messi or man.
A lot of people.
I'm trying to say they're difficult to come by, and then I'm thinking they had Maradona and they had Ronaldo. I don't know.
No.
I don't know what they have over there.
I get.
They keep getting those players. I can't even make my point anymore. But it's
you're
still
right.
very.
But I just.
No, but what are the fucking odds you end up with those 3 players? Seriously, what?
True, but a lot of their fans and the media over there and here still think they can. They it's just like a bad spell in Barcelona. No, this is how
they're the new
for a long
fans.
time.
Yeah, a lot of these are the newer fans that came in during the whole, during that whole team. So those are
Like Ravioli, he still thinks Barcelona and Real Madrid is like a thing. Just him and the Chapinas in the U.S.
Clásico's still massive, but I mean, yeah,
not like before, man.
Yeah, so Lamine Yamal is 16 years old, and then the guy who scored the game-winning goal is where is he? Marc Gui, and that kid is 17. So if Barcelona continues to do, I don't think they're ever gonna be like that golden era where it was like Messi, Xavi, Busquets, and Dani Alves. Like that shit's long gone. That was like once in a century type of shit. But if they end up going in this direction where they're just playing a bunch of youngsters, then I guess that's good for them. But yeah, it just goes to show like the mentality and culture that we have in Mexico, dude. We coddle. We're too like comfortable, man. These guys are debuting and playing on their national team at like teenagers. Like we don't see that shit here.
It's rare. It's just more rare. I think Medina debuted at 17. Alberto Medina with Chivas in 17 when he got his start. Um, I think
But when's
Cruz Azul had that guy that was.
when's the
The
last
kid, he was
time? When's the
15,
last
I
time we
believe.
had a
Right?
teenager like play in the World Cup, dude? Like Guardado?
Yeah. How old was he? Like 18,
19, man, wasn't it?
19? Well, even then, that's not that uncommon.
With the Jerry curl juice bouncing all over the place.
The soul glow.
Yeah. Hey, but I'd like to comment on the title of the pod, man. Santi Jimenez Hater Club.
Oh yeah.
I see the number one fanboys in here.
No, he's not. He's ducking. I was hoping he'd hop on, but you know, this whole episode started with Joel getting triggered about Santi's comments of clubs in Mexico making it difficult for the player to go abroad.
Mm-hmm. See, the thing there is that a lot of these fans, from a fan perspective, they're watching other leagues. They see like Real Madrid buy what was his name, Hazard, for like 100 or 80 or 100 million, right? And then just let him walk free after his contract's up, right? Like that's like they need to get their head out of Euroland and
But,
come
but
back
then
to
that guy,
Mexico.
wasn't that guy injured? So he was like damaged goods. Like no one was gonna pay for a
Yeah,
player that's
He
injury
retired.
or it's already. Yeah, so
yeah, he
he was.
retired.
So yeah, no, that's like a big part of it where they took that L, not because they didn't care. It's
No,
just
for sure. I was just
it was
using
just
him as
broken,
an
dude.
example, but there's plenty of players that big teams have just let walk free after their contract is up. But what I'm trying to say is that doesn't happen in Mexico. You see what's happening with Chivas, with Vega. They're not trying to lose money. Just let that bum walk.
They're trying to get something for him, huh?
Yeah. So like, what if
Yeah, they
fans?
spend a lot of money.
Yeah, and fans are thinking that that Mexican teams should like, oh, just because you say so, fan, I'm gonna let this guy walk and lose millions, right? Like, and
They,
there's go ahead.
no, you're right, I'm saying because you brought up the money part, so I just wanted to add to that. But I don't think they understand that, like, just what it costs to operate the team and how a lot of these teams don't have as much money as they believe they do. A lot of the clubs don't even own their stadium. A lot of stadiums are owned by the city. Um, a lot of clubs ended up being like losing their value, like León. León was one of the first big clubs in Mexico. They were one of the first. They had the first Campeonísimo, um, and they ended up getting bought out by Pachuca. That's like Rayo Vallecano buying Atlético Madrid. It's similar. It's similar to that because Pachuca, a small team. They call them Ranchuca and all that, and they get to own León, which was one of the a team that I think their stadium was World Cup venue. One of the older teams that was one of the most successful teams, but they just kind of fell through the wayside because of the money. You end up not having that much money. Atlas doesn't have their stadium. They play Jalisco. Jalisco's not owned by Atlas. They're owned by Clubes Unidos Jalisco, which was like a group of clubs. So it's not one club that owned it. Same was with Chivas. They just when Vergara they ended up buying the OmniLife, which to me was a big mistake. Because I mean, I think that's still keeping the club poor. Because what it takes to maintain that whole stadium, the cost of operation, I think that has hurt the club because all that money could have gone to the team. I don't care if they would have still been playing at Jalisco. I like that stadium. I would rather they were using that money to bring in top players and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But they went for the stadium and it's costing them. And So and you see it kind of across the board where a lot of these teams, some of them ended up like Morelia was one of the big teams, ended up just disappearing. Well, not disappearing, but being their franchise being sort of relegated. Uh, Irapuato was another big known team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know they're in third division. I don't even know what division they're in. And you see some of the other teams that were more current that then just kind of disappeared. Jaguares, Veracruz. Veracruz is one of the oldest teams. And it's just, they're kind of gone now because like Curi owns, but the city owns the stadium, which is destroyed. They're rebuilding it. And they're just going to bring in, another Veracruz. They just can't be Tiburones. They could be pirates or whatever.
Blue
Um,
Sharks.
yeah, per, but I mean, you see that now. You see how a lot of these big clubs have kind of gone by the wayside, and when we see the big teams, well, they have big corporations that manage them. Televisa, FEMSA, Cemex, Cruz Azul, Cemento Cruz Azul. So then that's the one thing where I would try telling my chi hermanos, well, Only Life is just not at the level of these companies. So it's going to be 3 times, 4 times as more difficult to try to compete.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't, expect Chivas to be lining up a super squad every season. They just don't have that money. Um, I've never even seen Only Life products here. And look, they even sell them here. But that's just kind of what it is. Where they I don't know where they think that these teams have all this money. What they kind of don't. They really don't. Really, when you think about it, they don't have that much money. For the most part, they're taking an L. Jaime, I don't know if you remember when they were talking about Santos, the femenil club, and and they were saying how the money they got from the gate was not enough to cover
The
for the
lights.
lights if they had a night game. Dude,
Uh-huh.
that just shows, that just shows how much they're getting, how much they're spending. And so it goes the same with youth teams because they'll
Huh.
have youth teams, they'll have like 100 players,
Uh-huh.
and that's a lot of money, just equipment and food and
Yeah.
coaches. And out of those 100 players, very few are actually going to make it to the first team.
Yep.
So man, I mean, you're running all these costs, and you somehow they still want, once they have a player that can sell for 10 million, you want them to sell them for two.
Or 500,000.
Give them away for free to some bum club just because they're in Europe. I I'm
Hey,
like,
hey, but he's playing in
dude,
Europe, man. He's
you
representing Mexico in
know.
Europe.
I was arguing with some guys on the Reddit Liga MX. They were talking about, and to me, it comes across as like a lot of fear. They kind of scared that MLS is overtaking. And they're saying all the prestige that you get from sending players. And I'm like,
Prestige.
no. Well, think about it. Who values highly like Uruguay? They send 100 times as many more players to Europe, and who's valuing the Uruguayan league? Do you know, like nobody cares, and even like Nigerian league, but they send way more players.
Yeah.
They got like a field with potholes and stray dogs running after the ball, and the man of the match gets a gallon of milk, and I'm not even making that up. We actually had a video of that. Um, those leagues aren't seen. It's just that you see the media, they make this into a talking point, and then a lot of the fans, for one reason or the other, seem to be like scared or something. I don't. I
You were
really don't know
arguing.
how to explain it.
You were arguing with a bunch of Jovenes MX Azteca fans.
Yep.
You could I remember watching an interview with Marin. What's his name? The from Fox Sports that he's at Televisa now. Andre Marin.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
He was interviewing the head honcho from the Colombia Federation, and this was right after the Mexico got out of the Libertadores and South American tournaments. And he's like, "Do you miss us, right?" It's on YouTube, the video. and the guy pretty much basically said we're big time relying on Mexico sending players over there because our entire league is a feeder league. That's how he even said it himself. Like,
Jeez.
we make money selling players. What kind of prestige is the Colombian league gonna have if it's the even if the damn main guy says it's a feeder league? Like, that's all these leagues are.
Yeah.
Like you watch the Uruguay game, you could literally see like I mean the Uruguay league on like Gold TV and all those channels. You could literally see the field, like the background. It looks like a park. Like the houses are like behind, like it looks
Yeah.
really it looks
I mean,
really
some of the
third
stadiums,
worldish.
some of the stadiums are like wood. They have like the wood benches, and then
Hmm.
even the ads up on the thing. They're wood panels.
Oh yeah.
It'll fall apart like in a thunderstorm. Um, I know.
Yeah,
I
those
kind
guys
of
don't know what
feel
they're talking about, man.
no,
But
they're
but
just
like you
very
said, they are
misinformed,
scared
man.
though. They're new fans. They're just scared. They've bought into the Euro rhetoric of the USA sending a bunch of their bums over there,
Well,
and
even
they're
look at the '94 squad. Going back to '94, there wasn't even MLS, and the U.S. team had more players in Europe than the
hmm
than the Mexico team. They're sending them from college.
Yeah, dude, I can't stand that subreddit. Sometimes, like, they praise Santi so much. Every goal that he scores, it's, upvoted like 1,000 times. Then I'm like, dude, like, look at the league he's playing in, and that shit he didn't do shit against Germany. It's like, are we just gonna like, turn the other way and pretend everything's fine? Like, no, dude, this guy's a flat track bully. Like, he's scoring where it really doesn't matter. And I hope he finds. I hope that catapults him to a better club. But I think people just need to calm the fuck down, let him cook, and stop hyping him up so much, dude. He's doing an adequate job. That's it.
what if he goes to like a mid-table, not even a big team, like a mid-table, like Spanish team? Would you say that even the hype would be warranted for that? I wouldn't.
No, I think if you're blowing it up the way you are in Feyenoord's, and we'll see how he does tomorrow against Lazio. If he starts scoring Champions League goals, like, I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't end up in a top four club, in one of the top leagues. Whether it be Bundesliga, English league, Spanish league, I would be unimpressed.
Oh yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Hey, did you guys talk about the big Puebla the big Puebla win for Chivas?
Super Camote power. We didn't really talk too much about it. I did acknowledge the fact that the team looks great without Vega and Chicote. And Ronaldo scored a golazo. We'll see how they do against Tigres.
Oh, they're playing Tigres next.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, they play Tigres. And I just found out that they actually will not be playing in El OmniLife. They're going to be playing in their second home, Jalisco.
What's up with that?
The weekend, he's having his concert, so they double booked it.
If I was Tigres, I'd file for that automatic win, man.
Why?
Did they let the league know ahead of time, or was this last minute?
Oh, I have no idea.
That would, depending on the situation, I think they'd have an argument.
Yeah, possibly.
But from what I read, they agreed to it, so it doesn't really matter.
No. Yeah, It's just one of those things. I was like, huh? You're gonna play in Jalisco? That's fine. You know, when I went to Guadalajara, I realized why everyone prefers Jalisco. It's closer. It's closer to downtown. A lot closer.
And the Chivas still owns part of it, right?
I think that's a question for Joel.
I think they do. I think all three teams in Guadalajara own a piece
Wait, for the Clubes Unidos?
for the Estadio Jalisco, right?
Yeah, it's the Clubes Unidos Jalisco. I don't know if Chivas relinquished their spot. I never knew quite sure how that worked, but let me ask Wiki. It's right here. It's an association to maintain the stadium. There you go. Yeah, and it's Atlas, Chivas, es Cafesa, and UDG, Universidad de Guadalajara, which is
Really?
the Negro Lions.
Huh.
The Leones Negros. Wait, who's Cafesa? Because I think it was Club Oro, El Deportivo, or I think they just call it Jalisco, but it's called Jalisco. Yeah, I don't think this club exists, but whoever must wait, do they exist? I
Isn't
don't
it a
even know. There's
college
only
team?
Texas Caritas. Might be. This goes way back. So yeah, this is how the stadium's owned. If I was Chivas, I would have probably like maybe put some money to like spiffy it up, but I would not have bought the Zombie Life.
Yeah,
That whole thing was a
like
massive.
you mentioned, and Jaime mentioned, like it's a better location, right? They should have just did what like the New York Giants did, the NFL team. They 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 hooked up with the New York Jets, and they share the stadium, right? But
Okay.
it was a brand new stadium. They should have just all pitched in and like redone the stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and it would have benefited everyone, especially with the prospect of a third World Cup.
Hmm.
Jalisco already has 2 World Cups there. Um, but yeah,
I
because
think it comes down to an ego, right? Like not having to share the stadium with Atlas.
was
And
that last? No, but I think it was Jaime. Just really quick, because came out. There was a few articles that came out. I know one was in the Record magazine where it was Vergara detailed his whole plan. So he wasn't he owned the land where the stadium is at, and he wanted to create like this whole like and they had the blueprints for it where you were gonna have Chivas Stadium, you were gonna have like a hotel, you were gonna have like a mall,
yep.
you're gonna have like all these a museum, you're gonna have all these venues, and so it was gonna be. I think they were trying to make it like a tourist type of place, and then you could just travel there and go see the museum, go see the Chiva game, and there'll be probably good restaurants. And I think that's kind of where his mind was headed. But I think he bit chew because nothing got built, just the stadium. And I think when what I had read was like not even the city was willing to invest to like I think to make more
Yeah, to
the road
develop it.
to
Yeah.
to develop more of the road because I heard it could be a nightmare going there
It is a nightmare.
with traffic and you've been there, Jaime. I want to know, dude. You need to
Yeah,
relay this for me.
I've been there a few times. It's just, it's in Zapopan, so it's pretty far from downtown. And, with an Uber or a taxi, yeah, it can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour just to get there with traffic. So
Oh yeah,
it's just really far and there's nothing else there. It's just the stadium in the middle of like all this undeveloped land. So I think that's the other thing too, is like you can't even pregame before the game. I mean, they don't get me wrong, like they do a great job of like having entertainment before the games, but it's all like puestos and stuff. It's not like they have like a restaurant or like a bar. You know, when you think of like a
Yeah.
ballparks here in the States, like some ballparks are in the heart of the city and you can just pregame, go to a few different places, have a bite to eat, drink something, before the game. And that stadium, the way it's designed, is just like there's nothing else there compared to El Jalisco, which I was lucky enough to go in 2013. It was the day before the Super Clásico. Atlas was also playing, and they played against León, and that was in El Jalisco. And getting there was just super easy. You could just walk there, and then there's just so much shit there. There's like tortas ahogadas and birria and drinks and micheladas.
Oh,
So it's just like
Oh.
el ambiente there is just fucking dope. And yeah, it's just I think Vergara not being able to develop that line was a missed opportunity.
yeah. And I think he was expecting like other investors to come in and be like Chivas being the main attraction, but I think they just saw the whole, the location, and then even the city not willing to put money in to
Uh
help
huh.
improve the transportation.
Yep.
You guys were mentioning stadiums, and I seen an article. I mean, it's a smaller team, but I think the Cantina MX audience should know something like this
What's that?
about El Fantasma Suarez. He was mentioning, and this goes partly into that how fans expect owners to sell players or buy players or situations like that. El Fantasma, not only El Fantasma, I've seen other reporters mention this about how Mazatlan is basically owned by like the government, right? The team.
The stadium, I
I
know
mean,
the stadium is.
yeah, the
I
stadium,
think the team was it's owned
and
by
they're
the dude from
no, yeah,
the
the Azteca guy.
Salinas. Yeah,
He owns it. Yeah, you're right. He owns the team, but the government is paying for the stadium
stadium.
and for the players. Like this fucker isn't doing.
What?
Yeah.
He's not paying for anything.
Well, yeah, he just
Wait,
puts the
Ricardo
franchise.
Salinas?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
scumbag.
Wow.
He just has the team. He pretty much just moved Morelia, so he could have. He needs a team for his crappy TV channel. He needs content for his TV channel. This guy isn't
Well,
trying to
they still
invest in
own a
Mexican
piece of
football.
land. Well, they were coming again because you lose money, and so he kind of has he still owns a part of Andas, I believe, but majority, I think majority is Grupo Orlegui.
No, he owns Atlas and Santos. He owns part of Grupo Orlegui.
Pliego?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that one.
Oh, look, it won't come up on Wikipedia, but look it up, man. It's true.
Interesting.
So you got scumbags like this guy running a team that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and people are expecting Mexican players to pop out of nowhere, basically, because those guys aren't doing anything.
Yeah, some of these owners are pretty lazy, just collecting checks.
And they're broke, man. Well, one thing I really enjoy about the NFL is that they have a code of they have like a it's a fat old white rich group of guys. Like if you're not rich enough to buy a team, like I've seen I watch I listen to a couple of NFL podcasts, and they always mention how how they vet the owners, right? Like if you don't have a certain amount of money, if you're not going to spend a certain amount of money for a team, they don't even have you in consideration to buy a team. That's where Liga MX fucked up, man. From the very beginning, they should have had, hey, if you don't have a certain amount and you can't provide funds of how much money you have, you don't belong in this league, man. Take that shit to El Salvador or somewhere.
No broke boys.
No broke boys.
Yeah, they need to have some sort of you know how they have ceilings, they need to have a floor too, like a minimum amount that you have to invest into the team
Oh,
to
for sure.
to maintain your like ownership status. Some of these clubs, like you know, you look at Bornecaxa, man, like they're just shit right now, and they have all these. I mean, 50 or 49% of the club is owned by all these like celebrities and stuff. But yeah, they're in last place.
They're washing that money, man.
Absolutely.
Like for instance, Vergara, he wouldn't be able to be a owner in the NFL. They'd say you said you sell your
Ponzi
business
scheme.
is basically a Ponzi scheme,
MLM.
and you sell
Uh,
fat girl drinks. Like, how are you trying to buy a team from us, man?
Well, and he bought the franchise, and he never like fully bought it
What,
because
Chivas USA or
not
Chivas?
no Chivas, because not all of the socios sold, and so there was a big for years there was a big lawsuit, and then the socios won, and then it just kept getting extended. But FMS backed them up. They backed up Vergara. Um, must be the reason he went with Televisa. 'Cause I don't know if you remember when he was campaigning, he said, we will not, you know, we will not be with the enemy. And then
Hmm.
as soon as he takes, it's Televisa. But yeah, that whole thing was a mess, dude. And I don't even know where it stands, you know? The whole lawsuit, I don't know if they eventually just went away or if it's still there.
Went away as in people disappeared, or the case went away,
Well, just because it takes money to keep
or
it in
both.
court, you know. Well, you know how it goes. Like man, you're like suing a big company, but then it's like you can't afford to keep going to trial and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I'm basically trying to say that they're lucky they're in Mexico, because in aside from like the Monterrey owners, America, and possibly Cruz Azul, like
Yeah, no,
what other team would survive outside of Mexico?
yeah, no, you're right. A lot of these owners wouldn't, you know, because of all these rules that they're able to get away with a lot of stuff. Like someone like Cudi with how he was managing Veracruz, and basically you just have to own the franchise and the franchise is basically the team name and that it's in first division, and you know the club allowed the franchise to be sold, and people would, you know, like your club would be relegated, and then a second division team would go up, and then that team would know that like, well, we don't have money to survive, so they would sell their franchise, you know, and that's how you had to switch a rule, how like Puebla was relegated, but they bought whatever team went up, so they're still in first division.
There's a
Yep.
lot of shady shit that happens in Mexico, basically. For sure,
And
folks.
Yeah,
I am scared though, that because I remember arguing with Joel about the rise of the MLS. Because ya ni los pel, man. I get so tired of hating on MLS. I even get exhausted talking about MLS, man. But I remember him making a case for it, and but as the years go on, the more I see how they operate Liga MX, I can seriously see them not in the near future, but definitely in the future of young fans just switching sides, man. They're gonna get tired of this.
You would think so. I mean, you're already starting to see people like Habibi supporting their national, you know, their local club, and with the rise of no Sabo kids who don't speak Spanish, yeah, of course they're going to gravitate towards the MLS. And then now you factor in the Messi effect. Are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah, that'll be a sad day in Mexican football.
Yeah, and it's their fault for not, having a platform for English content. I think that's another missed opportunity there. I mean, I look at some of the content that Chivas produces in English and it makes me cringe because the guy who's talking sounds like the Count from Sesame Street.
Count Chocula?
Yeah. When he talks, bro, I'm like, dude, are you like a real person?
Okay, Contractula is a cereal. He means Sesame Street. The one that says one, two.
Yeah.
He's just a count. He's just a count.
Oh,
But I like Contractula. It should be sold. It's being sold right now. Seasonal. It
Oh, it was a cereal?
is a cereal.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like it's not themed on monsters because so there's like a Frankenstein, Frankenberry, I think it's called, and then there's like a ghost and a
wow.
mummy.
It's like chocolate Lucky Charms, Jaime,
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes.
but with monster theme, like Joel said.
Yeah.
that's cool. We had
Bueno, chavos.
a poll on
Oh,
the podcast. I haven't been reading them out, so we had 57% of our listeners think that Santi Jimenez should be our starting striker. 28% voted for Julian Quinones, and 14% voted for Henry Martin. Raul Jimenez got 0 votes. And
no
then
love.
the one that upset me, I asked the audience, is the Dutch league better than Liga MX? And 66.7% said yes.
Sounds like Cantina MX has a bunch of Jovenes MX fans, man.
You could argue their top clubs are better, which is just going to be PSV and Ajax. But top to bottom, I'll say Liga MX. And you've had even coaches like Hans Westerhoff and Leo Venhacker say that Liga MX is better.
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, but no, I don't think much has changed. Probably even like what you've seen, you used to see Ajax at least be more competitive. You haven't really seen them like reach like a Champions League final.
Yeah, a couple of years ago they got close. They beat Madrid and Juve and to get to the semi against Spurs, and then they lost. And then they
Dang,
basically stripped the team. After that, they sold everybody. But
They're like a glorified Pachuca.
yeah,
If Pachuca was a Euro team, that's what would they be? Ajax.
that's a fair assessment. Although Pachuca, not necessarily a big metropolitan city, whereas Amsterdam absolutely is.
Well, lads, I have to get going.
Absolutely,
I'm gonna,
man. Do you have
I'm gonna give my
any
yes,
close?
my final thought.
Yeah.
Yes, my closing thoughts. No, it's just going back to the whole expecting clubs to release a player for peanuts, uh, and then blaming the clubs for not for like blocking someone's opportunity. It's like they're not blocking no one. To me, it's as a player, it's your choice. You take the risk. If you want to leave, then you could write out your contract or not sign the extension. At which point the club will sell you because other than that, you could leave on a free. So then that's just what it comes down to. So holding the players more accountable. If you really want to leave, then you will leave, and you can find opportunities to not be in the better teams, but you'll still find them.
Fair
Yes,
enough.
though. Thank you, sirs.
Ricardo, what you got?
As I always say, it's a pleasure to be on here with you, gentlemen. But I always say, man, no, but before this, I also want to say that I'm looking forward to the weekend games. They got some good ones going on in Liga MX, the best league in the Western Hemisphere. But one thing that I hate and this fake news disgusts me, man. And Argentina, for the third time, does it again. They cheat. They're cheating bastards. They get away with it, and no one says a damn thing because they have star power, and that's the only reason they get away with it. That cheap Poo Gomez, the steroid freak, got caught. What were they saying? What was a jarabe? 3 months before the World Cup started. He popped 30 before the World Cup, and he still went
Damn.
to the World Cup. And people are gonna and Argentinos and pro Argentino media, which is, believe it or not, it's a bunch of them out there, especially in Mexico. They're gonna tell you, oh, it doesn't matter. It won't affect. It doesn't affect the. It's not as effective as people say it is, or it doesn't affect the game as much as you think it does. But I completely disagree, man. If if they're not going to be testing everyone in the World Cup, if they don't drug test, I mean, if they knew this guy popped hot, he shouldn't have gone to the fucking World Cup, man. And now they got another stain in their history book of lies and corruption because they celebrate that. They love being cheaters and they get away with that. And Messi is a fake champion. He doesn't deserve that championship. I mean, that World Cup because
You good there? Ricardo, you keep muting and unmuting. I don't know what's going on with your mic there. I think the powers beyond us will not allow the Messi slander.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
I was about to do a wellness check.
I'll take my.
This guy's choking and then he goes radio silent.
Messi was choking you with that little celebration he does, a little choke.
Pro Messi propagandist came after me, man. No, but I just wanted to mention that these guys are cheaters and people forgive them just because they got star power. Because if Mexico was doing some bullshit like that, you better believe their ass. They'd strip Mexico, and obviously Mexico doesn't have stars, so it's you can't really compare the two. But what I find really disgusting is that no one even mentioned this. What I'm about to say. A lot of media and were mentioning before the World Cup for Argentina. They mentioned that Papu Gomez, that he was being alienated by the other players from the Argentina team, right? And they were saying, oh, they said some bullshit like, oh, he was doing witchcraft on this guy, and he hates on this guy, and he has something pretty much some like bullshit excuses of why he's being alienated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much just spreading fake news as usual, as they usually do. That just tells me, when I read that, I seen a reporter mention that online. I was like, why would they mention something like that? What importance does that have for people to know online, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like if a robber or if a murderer just runs up to you and he has a bloody hand with a knife. He's like, "Oh, I was just chopping onion. I was just chopping tomatoes, man." Like, wouldn't you find that suspicious? Like, they knew this guy pissed hot, and they went ahead with the World Cup and they took him. So they're accomplices to the crime, man. And no one's gonna call them out for it. And I think that's disgusting.
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing that up. It's funny because like no one's really talking about it, right? Like,
look, man, I got like when I was in high school, like I have firsthand experience of seeing something like this. When I was in high school, my dad, he got injured when he was working, right? and he had to get steroid shots. And during the summer when this happened, I would go to a park right here in Houston. It's called Bear Creek Park. I think it's around 3 miles long, and I'd go with him during the day,
Uh-huh.
and we do a couple laps. Like, keep in mind, like I'm not saying I'm some super athlete or anything, but I was in shape, and I would work out, and I would always go running and jogging. Uh, I could do like a good mile at that time, and I kid you not, this old fucker, he was outrunning me, man. He never got tired. Those and I would ask him after the run. I'm like, hey dad, like, hey pops, you wouldn't like, damn man, like you wouldn't stop or like, what's going on, man? He's like, I don't feel tired, and I'm like, after he told me that, I was like, man, this isn't like, you see this in sports, it's just not, it's not fair, man. Like that shit helps you, and people just don't, they just pretend like it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your thoughts there, Ricardo and Joel. It was a fantastic episode. The anti Santi Jimenez club here. For the people listening, hey, look, we're just trying to give people a different perspective. Obviously, he's a talented player, but let's take it one step at a time, and let's not get on this whole like Euro snob hype. Like, there's a lot of great talent in Liga MX, and Liga MX, in my opinion, is one of the top leagues in the world, easily in the top, 10, 12 on a good day. But yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. As far as upcoming matches, I think everybody's going to be looking forward for that Tigres Chivas match on Saturday. Some revenge from the final where Chivas choked a 2-0 lead. You also have Rayados, who are pretty banged up, man. Like, most of their team is injured, but they do play America on Saturday the 28th. So looking forward to those matches. Oh, it looks like Abdias wants to throw something in there. Coming in at the last minute. I'll let him speak. I think it's pretty appropriate. We're wrapping things up. We're at the tail end of the show, and Cruz Azul are also at the bottom of the table. So the floor is yours, Abdias.
Oh, ja, 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 ja. Pues chinguen su madre todos, putos. Pues qué pedo, cabrones. Perdón, me quedé dormido. Es tarde acá de mi lado, pero ¿saben qué? Aquí estoy para defender a mi puro pinche gallo. ¿Qué pedo? Y'all been talking shit the whole time, haven't you?
Yeah, dude. We're wrapping up the episode.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good, man. I'll listen later. I just came here, say fuck you guys. I know y'all been shit talking on. ¿Qué? ¿Qué les dolió que les diga la verdad?
For your hot take, I just want to know how you feel about the possibility of Coca joining Cruz Azul.
¿Sabes qué, güey? Mejor rómpeme un pinche huevo de tener ese pinche flojo en el Cruz Azul. All right. The beauty of it is I know he's not going to close out the season. So fuck it. Bring whoever you want. We're going to fire you by like jornada 7.
For sure. And do you agree with Santi's comments about players having a tough time getting exported to Europe?
I do, because they do. We literally talk about this all the time. Players in Liga MX will get an offer, and we don't sell. If anything, we should take the Latin American approach. Not even Latin American, the South American approach. That is, sell low at the first time, hold on to 20% of their fichaje for the fresh sales. Like, all right, cool, yeah, you know what? I'll sell you 75% of this player. Take him. It's a low offer, but when you sell him, I get 25% of that, and that's how you make money.
It's too complicated, man.
Wait, no mames.
It's
Uruguay lo puede hacer.
Math is hard.
Si Brasil lo puede hacer. No mames, güey. Have you ever met a true Mexican that get the education in Mexico? Their fucking math is on point. They'll put you to shame any fucking day.
Yeah, I was.
So you want teams to lose money then? You want Cruz Azul to sell a player for $4 million and lose, and they bought him at 8 or 10 million.
It might be a loss up front, but at the later end, it's an investment in the player.
That's a big but.
Like, gee, no, it's not. It's not a but. It's an investment on a player.
Name me another player that's gone that route though, aside from specifically from Cruz Azul.
That's the problem. We're not doing it that way. That's the model that we need to adopt, and it's the closed-mindedness of Mexico that, hey, I just want a return investment right off the rip, versus, hey, I believe en mi pinche gallo que va a ir y va a matar todo lo que está allá y va a ganar.
But don't you think the players should start by taking a pay cut in Mexico to begin with, instead of demanding millionaire salaries, and on top of the loss that the team would get by selling them?
Why should the player take the loss? If anything,
that's how
this is just talking
South
about
American players aren't getting paid. You're saying take the South American route. Well, aside from Brazilian players, what other South American players getting paid like a Liga MX player and getting sold for crumbs to Europe?
And then that's the problem of Liga MX, right? What did Tata Martino say before he left? El valor del jugador en México está inflado. ¿Cómo es que un jugador en el mercado mexicano vale X millones de dólares, pero en el extranjero vale mucho menos al mercado extranjero? Like, the Mexican league is broken, and we all know this, and we can't even pretend like we don't know this. Right?
But
we all talk about this.
We're talking about, but we are seeing that inflation in Europe. When you have a top Euro player and you want them, they're paying upwards of 60, 70, 80 million dollars. And that's not very recent. That didn't used to be the case, or it was up to that point. So even within Europe,
because that's a result of the fucking Saudi money coming in. Not even Saudi money. That's a result of the oil money coming in.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the same thing with Liga
like
MX.
Shit, even EPL is crying about it.
Well, I was just saying, it's kind of the same within Liga MX. The other clubs will value their players that much that they're willing to pay. And like in Europe, for the most part, well, because they're pulling from so many other places where they're like, they won't see the Mex player as better than a Uruguayo or a Nigerian or whatnot. So they're gonna put us at the prices that they're getting those players.
Well, the problem
But
is
in
we
those
also
players in
don't
those
have
leagues,
the history. We
But-
also
but
don't
then-
have
then
the
we-
history porque compran un proyecto brasileño viendo la historia de los brasileños.
Well,
¿Verdad?
that's-
Compran un
that is
proyecto
true to an
uruguayo
extent, but-
viendo la
but-
historia de los uruguayos que han traído antes. Entonces, compran a un mexicano y ¿qué pasa? Ay, güey, ¿sabes qué? Me lo quieren vender bien caro. ¿Cómo es que puedo invertir en él si hay una manera que me puede fallar? Entonces, no
Yeah,
invierto
but
en
I
el
mean,
mexicano.
think of these other leagues. If these other leagues were in the same position as Max, they wouldn't sell their players for peanuts. They would be valuing the same players at the same amount. It's just that their leagues are very poor. So that's why, Ricardo said, except the Brazilians, because the Brazilians there's a couple clubs that they just have the money and they could pay. So that's why, but I mean, they have the history, like you said. So I mean, that's just Brazil, not just, and that's in another level. But just comparing to the other leagues, they're very poor leagues. So that's always going to
And the,
to just be
okay,
like
so we're
the-
using Brazil, right? El fútbol
No,
brasileño.
I don't think we should.
Todos sabemos
Just-
que pagan un chingo. No, espérate, vamos a usar tu pinche argumento, güey. ¿Ok? El pinche fútbol brasileño, ¿verdad? Ok, les pagan un chingo. Pero ¿cuántos jugadores exportan cada año? Un putazo. ¿Por qué? Porque entienden que ese es el negocio. Así es como vas a crecer el fútbol, ¿verdad?
No,
Argentina
that's not how it
hace
is.
lo mismo.
You just said it was the track record. Mexico just can't buy a track record out of nowhere.
Yeah, but their
If
league
you're
is set
look,
up
if
to
you have a Euro
export.
team, if you have a Euro team, as much with everything you just said, you would buy the Brazilian player instead of the Mexican player too.
Because they have the track record of it,
Yeah,
and because they know how to do business.
but it goes hand. The track record. The track record goes hand in hand with the number of exports they send over there. Mexico doesn't have a track record, and it has very few players to export, so it's not comparable.
Mexico has plenty of fucking players to export. You know what? Let's look at Luis Chavez. He left por la puerta de atrás. Why? Because he chose to go do that, right? You want another one? Miguel
To
Ayun.
Russia,
Doesn't fucking matter.
it doesn't. It's
It
Russia,
doesn't.
man. Come on.
Wait, ¿sabes qué, Jaime? Play me the fucking clip de Nery Castillo.
I don't know if I have it saved anymore.
¿Sabes qué es la diferencia? Que él está en Europa y tú estás aquí. Y siempre vas a estar aquí. That's the close-mindedness. Igual como lo de Ayun. ¿Qué pasó con Miguel Ayun? Se fue a la pinche segunda división. Luego subió a la primera división. Luego brincó a equipos. Y luego regresó a México. ¿Verdad? Pero la cosa es que se tuvo que ir a las pinches segunda división. Se tuvo que creer en sí mismo. Y fue lo que pasó. ¿Y por qué no lo vendieron? Porque no lo dejaban irse. So
Well, he
that's
was
the
probably
problem with Mexico.
demanding a millionaire contract in Mexico too.
Nope, it was Televisa. They wouldn't let him go. America wouldn't let him go. And he said, no, me voy por mis huevos, me voy. And he left.
But how did that go for him? I mean, he was in the bench over there for most of the time.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't?
No, he played.
We're at Porto,
he was
right?
a good player. Porto, unos cuantos otros, pero Porto fue el más grande donde hizo el mejor aporte. And he was considered one of the best players
No,
around.
he wasn't. He was not
Yeah,
considered
he
the
was.
best.
One of the best players. I didn't say the best, one of the best.
Of Mexicans or the other extranjeros?
On the team in general. Why the fuck do we have to compare them? Right? ¿Por
No,
qué no
but
podemos reconocer el buen trabajo de alguien?
you mentioned you wanted to compare him to Brazil. And Brazil sends
When the fuck did I say
20.
that? I just said, no, espérate,
You
cabrón,
didn't just say that you
Don't
were
twist my
comparing.
words. No. What I said is look at his trajectory, the path that he had to follow, right? The path that Luis Chavez had to follow, the path, how it is for you in order to be able to leave Mexico.
No,
Y
yeah,
como dijo
I
Santi,
get that
Antuna ha
part. But
recibido ofertas, Charlie ha recibido ofertas, y cuántos nos más oímos de que, hey, ¿sabes qué? Recibieron una oferta, y qué dicen los directivos mexicanos? No, pues no me quieren pagar, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué lo voy a vender a un mercado extranjero cuando en doméstico me puedo ganar X?
So you'd rather take a $20,000 job in LA than $1 million job in Iowa?
Fuck yes.
Oh,
Cost of living is different,
all right, man. Fine.
right? Plus, here's the thing.
There's
Tell
no
me, how much
arguing with
career
that, man.
Well, how much career growth are you going to have in LA, and how many more opportunities are you going to get in a larger market than a hot piece of shit like Iowa?
Career growth, I mean, let's say we're comparing because we're talking about entertainment. Let's say you're an actor in Iowa and an actor you're an ugly actor in the LA and you're a good-looking actor in Iowa. Like, what are we really getting at the end of the day?
Well, yeah, everyone's a 10 fucking east of the Mississippi. That's the problem. Bunch of fucking uggos. All right? So that's the first thing that you need to get in check. Second of all, is all right, yeah, you might be a working actor in LA, but hey, what are you doing? You're networking, you're learning, you're doing a lot of other things. You're investing upon yourself. in order for even then, this is a perfect example. Even then, hey, you know what? I was an actor in LA. I did blah 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 blah. You return to Iowa when you have a much larger market now, where you get a bigger share. AKA Captain Save-A-Ho and Los Regios will come back and pay you cash over fist for you to come back.
But in none of those scenarios that you mentioned were Mexican players actually playing in elite teams, though. So what's
Because
the
we
point of
don't
all
have the
this?
trajectory. Like that's what you don't understand. How the fuck do we want players in the elite status when we don't even let them leave? Cuando un proyecto al futuro mexicano tiene 26 años.
Look,
30.
let me tell you this: you can let every Mexican player in Liga MX to Europe for less than $20,000 right now. None of them become stars playing in Europe, or better yet,
Really?
none of them become elite. Yeah,
So you don't think Huescas would become elite if he leaves in time?
if he goes to Sparta Rotterdam and he ends up back in Mexico, I don't think so. Because it comes down to talent at the end of the day, also. And none of these
I'm
guys
gonna
are
use one
talented
of
like
your
that.
own words, fucking indigenous mindset, right? Donde no tienes la pinche imaginación o el poder ver de lo que tiene el futuro.
No,
You're
you can
still
imagine.
stuck
You can
at the
imagine
bow and
everything you
arrow.
want, but I go off numbers and reality, and the numbers and the reality tell me that these guys aren't prepared to go over there, and frankly, they're not talented enough to succeed in big teams over there.
And why do you need them to go to a big team? Once again, what I said is the investment is yes, I will sell them to you at a 75% nomina at a reduced price. And when you sell him, that's when I'm going to get my money. When he takes that next step, I'm going to get my second half of the money. That's literally what they did with Santi. Cruz Azul still holds 20% of his nomina.
The one guy you're mentioning, and you're not going to mention that he had someone in there vouching for him that already knew him, which a lot of other Mexican players don't have when they go to Europe. If you ask me, that's part of why he's succeeding over there, because they did take a chance on him.
So then what's your argument? That we shouldn't take chances on Mexicans anymore?
No, I'm saying they don't take chances on them over there. Except every guy, like Joel said, if they're not spending money on you, if they don't buy you, if they don't have a high number purchase for you, transfer, I mean, out of Liga MX, they don't really care about you like that. They're not going to give you a chance.
Contraire.
I mean,
Problem
you just
they
mentioned
need to be
Jimenez.
able to
They paid
send
$8
them.
million for him, right?
You know what, bro? I'm not even sure what the number is. But what I
From
do
what I
know
read,
is
it's
that he
about
was
$8 million.
able to leave. All
And
right. How much
you
were
don't think
they?
his dad had anything to do with that?
Wait, his dad's a fucking worldwide legend.
Worldwide?
All right. Lo que hizo en Boca y todo allá, lo que vino a hacer aquí, lo que hizo en el club en el Club World Cup y todo eso, his name is known. And that's part of the thing. You're investing in that stock. And it's like, all right, cool. ¿El hijo de quién? Okay. ¿En qué club? Y todo lo demás. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
On Transfer Market, it says that the transfer from Cruz Azul to Feyenoord was 6 million euros, and that his current value is 40 million.
So tell me, where do you lose money if you get 20% of that?
You guys are getting 20%?
Yeah,
Sheesh.
exactly. That's the business model.
But
South America knows it.
all right, so let me see.
We don't.
40 times 20%. That is 8 million. So in total, you guys are going to get, let's see, plus the 6. It's around 14 million euros. Whereas somebody in Mexico has cash in hand right now that will take them off your hands for probably that price.
And
But then where's the growth?
he himself has said that he's taken less money going over there. So it goes back to my point. These guys can't, if they want to go over there, they got to take a pay cut in Liga MX because they can't have their cake and eat it too. If they want to get a transfer over there, you're either getting a low salary and getting a low transfer over there. You can't have a high salary and a low transfer going over there. It doesn't happen. You can't show me an example of that happening.
Basically, if you want to go to Europe, you don't expect Mexico money. Like
Exactly. He's over there eating crackers out of a can, man.
I don't think so
Basically, if
because
you
of
want to
his
go to Europe,
his
don't
dad's.
be in the Mexican league.
Well,
That's as simple as it goes. Go play in MLS. Go play anywhere else.
I think it's
because you will get exported. In
it's-
Mexico, you will not.
I think it's easier said than done. Santi Jimenez, hijo de papi, right? This guy has money. You can't say the same for, let's say, Chiquito Sanchez, right? Like, these guys come from poverty. So, of course, when they finally bust their balls and get that first contract, they're going to try and get as much money as they can. Why wouldn't they? But I guess if you don't have to worry about that, you come from money, you're a JJ Mack, your family's wealthy, then yeah, I can go to Getafe and get paid nothing for 6 months. I'm willing to take that gamble because I don't have to worry about the bare essentials. So
and they got the passport, Jaime. They got the advantage of the passport.
Yeah, they got the passport
too.
and
not the brown Mexicans are gonna have that advantage, no matter how people try to say it doesn't matter. Look, if Chiquito Sanchez tries to go over there, he's gonna have a hard time because of the passport and his height.
And
You
his
guys
skin
just
color.
watch.
And his skin color. No darkies.
Just watch.
Es que todavía no saben de moreno, pero de barrio. We need to teach them about that.
They don't know about Morro Pietra. I can't even say the word. Yeah.
But we're making all this hoopla about a guy that's just gonna end up at Monterrey, though. I mean,
Who, Chiquito?
no, I mean Santi Jimenez.
Oh, we'll see what happens with him.
I mean, look at the last guys the Dutch league has sold to the big teams. That guy that Ravioli always mentions about that goes to Manchester United. What's his name? The Brazilian.
Anthony?
Yeah, he's a flop. That guy that got sold to Liverpool, Gekpo, he's a bigger flop. I mean,
Yeah.
the only big name they can hang their hat off of is Suarez. No one else.
One thing I thought was interesting.
You forget the biggest name there is, Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Zlatan.
Well, that was a long time ago, man. I mean,
yeah, what I thought was interesting was in that Newcastle documentary, they signed Gimares, and he said that like in Brazil it's like their dream now to play in the Premier League. Like, when the fuck did that happen? I think that is definitely new.
oh yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I remember watching those. You guys mentioned Zlatan. I remember watching his documentary on Netflix, and when he was at the Swedish club Malmo, that's what it was called, right? His
Yep.
first team. He was in the locker room talking to one of his old teammates that went to Italy, I believe, and they were asking him, "Oh, what team do you want? What league do you want to go to?" And he's like, "Probably Italian or the Spanish league. The English football is shit." And at that time, I guess he kind of had an argument, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, but like you said, everyone wants to go to the Premier League now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, because you didn't really know about too many Brazilians in the Prem League, like growing up, right? It was always the Spanish league or the Italian league. Like, it was like the Prem League didn't have that prestige outside of the UK, obviously. So I thought that was interesting in the documentary. Like, damn, dude, players are now like kids dream of going to Newcastle and Manchester and Liverpool. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's so random. But just an
Big
observation.
deal, man. It really is. I seen one of my old white neighbors. They had a Manchester City jersey, man.
Wow.
And I've never seen old white people around here were wearing anything other than like football stuff, you know,
Yeah.
or the occasional Astro stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like, oh, this is good. This is coming over here.
For sure. Well, boys, we're in the OT. I appreciate Abdias for hopping on the last minute and giving us like that perspective we always appreciate and encourage here on the podcast. I'll leave you guys with a published comment from one of our listeners on Spotify. Jesus says, the show's really funny and informative while also being highly speculative. Keep it up. You guys are one of the best ways I can get insight into a game that I fully don't understand but love to watch. So big shout out to Jesus for that comment, and we'll read more in those on the next episode. All you got to do, if you're a Spotify listener, is respond to our Q&A. We upload it every week, and then we'll also have a poll where you can vote. So stay tuned for that. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Hope everyone has a great night. And of course, we will catch you guys in the next one. All right, YouTube.